Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 3 with Black Ice 9. Now we need to take that province, don't we? And that'll give us a little less border gore. Oh, here. There we go. Now, we can see what's here. Let's analyze this a little bit. We've attacked here and we've won. We're coming in. We're attacking here. We're not winning. It's sort of hard fighting. But that isn't real big concern because we're going to have more troops into here, which we can support that attack here. But I can see here the South Africans, particularly here, but also some British, are moving up in support here to win this war. Whether I don't know whether they think they're going to be taking all this back or hold the river line here or something like that. And we also got the Belgian motorized troops coming through here. And I almost decided to attack here to delay these guys from moving up. But then I remembered that I was moving down here at all these guys here. So you can see here they were already moving. I could wait, but I'm not waiting for them to go, because we already have all of these guys heading up to deal with either this attack here, which is failing for them, or all this stuff moving up here. Now, what happens is if I can come down and take some of these ports and other provinces down here, I'm going to cut them off. So before they get too far, too deep, too many of them up into here, I'm hoping to get them cut off, as well as instead of like all coming up here to win this battle, they may a few stay there, but the rest will start heading back down here to deal with this battle. But before they can get down here, we will have won. Keep march, counter march, and counter march disorder kind of thing is what I'm hoping to do. Should be getting, yeah, he's pretty good now. We lost the province. Yes. Taking away former French colonies in sub-Saharan Africa, which I don't care about right now. In fact, it may be good for me. And then I won't try to supply those places. As you guys get there. Okay, on board ship. There we go. Lebanon, Beirut to be specific. And you're here now. Okay. These guys, might as well fill this ship up, because I don't think we're going to be bumping into the big navy. If you have your ships over full like this and you lose any unit or any transport units, you start losing units that you're transporting as well as the transports. Okay, elastic defense 42, but now we are in 41, just beginning, so we will come over. Start doing other 41 technologies. Be interesting trying to sort of southern hook into Turkey, I think. We could probably do it now, sort of slowly, but we're going to get a bit more units and get out of January very shortly here. Maybe even through February. Yes, just as I'd hoped. Actually be winning here. Ah, stole some more blueprints. Small ship armor to level 5. Ouch. Don't know if that's good. Yeah, it ain't so bad. Okay. Well, I see. This is with some of this stuff. Obviously, what's unrealistic about it is I don't have a choice on it. You want to have balanced situation. It'd be one thing if I had super fast engines, but it's another thing to go slow because of the armor. That's sort of the one particular one that I sort of wish I don't steal unless it's balancing other things out. That'd be an interesting thing is to be able to block. Well, don't steal these, technologies or something. Steal something else. That attack is already stopped. Down here, another attack from another province now. Yeah, we're losing some. So we got some more in production. We'll probably put some more in production as well. Ah, well now here we go. Okay, well you attack. Now we're attacking 2 provinces. This is not actually see if I can slow them up. I was just wondering if we can actually take the province. Okay. Yunnan. All good. Now we share a fairly solid border with our allies. The Japanese. And medium air search radar. Okay. Down here in avionics, I guess. Okay, there we go. Now where to here for, well, we're down here for, I don't know, let's just get you out of Cyprus for the moment. Base. Who is the weakest unit here? Just hold, make sure we're not cut off ourselves. But I wanted everybody to be in on the attack. Okay, light. Ships, AA, fire control, good. Now make up for this. Heavier armor, let's do some ship engine improvements. I'm not entirely upset about the heavier armor, just the one I want the least. We could have stolen. Okay, we've won down here. Good. Very good. Okay, we're going to stop this attack. Yes, you're counterattacking, but you weren't all disrupted in it and couldn't move forward. Let me stop. You're already reacting to this. Something down here. Here. Okay, well, some of those forces. Divisional HQs, very good. Yep, let it go. Let it go. And they accepted my trade offer. Well, these would be better to do. Well, right now it looks like we're going to overwhelm anything on this border. But... oh, well, good. We got it from our allies, the Germans. I don't want to pop up and pause. The infantry we can down to. Okay, what is this? Like, okay. That. No. Do we even want to try this trade with them? Yeah. Might not be for long. We might wait till the end of February. Aircraft prototype evaluation. That would be here. No, that would be here. We're going to come down into here. And yes, assault concentration. And partisan suppression. I think that's. Continue. Oh, yeah. No, moving forward. Oh, wait a minute, whoa. Just a second, I did that wrong, didn't I? What I wanted to come is here, move you forward to here. That help a little bit with it. Oh, can we get to Siwa? Yeah, we can, so you're going to go to Siwa. Close down more of that. Yeah, your headquarters is this back near Venice or wherever. Okay. Yeah, it's going to be moving forward. I'm sort of guessing, I'm going to move a few more units here because this is sort of the future to one degree or another. Operations. Overstacking there, I know. Come here. Actually, well, Tobruk is the first, or there's the first stop. We may move by sea some other time. Maybe, well, just a light cruiser, that's no problem. There's enough air power, it's not even a problem to some motor torpedo boats. Yeah, pause. You guys come out to here. Patrol. Okay. Excellent, good. Was it Gondor or Wadi Medina that was the major victory? New attack, and then here. Motorized, so you can get there sooner. We want you on the other side of the river to be attacking. Soviet Union, we would give them money for rare materials. Okay. Stem the... hide a bit of... Okay, well they're retreating now, so that's why, and now we're going to be attacking there. And cars will help, and proper infantry division with engineers will also help, and these guys will also help. Hit from all sides. Okay, so we've won that. No, you come down to here. You follow up down there. Okay, we're going to reduce it down to just needs. Supply production. Sorry if I'm mumbling too much. I just get into that sort of thinking gameplay type mode, which is really fun for me because I like sharing thoughts and everything with you. But then it's become more natural for me. But this is a performance. This isn't just me playing a game. May not look like a good performance, but still, it's a performance. So, gotta remember that. But of course, what's really fun for me is just playing the game. And so I just sort of get into that. I'm talking to myself, which may sound mumble-ish by the time it gets over the microphone. You're a doctor. Good cartoon, that'll be useful. Get us some energy, probably not much, but also denies it to the enemy. Probably not a critical resource. But it also gets us an airport. Maybe even more importantly, denies them the possibility of an airport. Okay, we've got a bunch of garrison divisions. I think are almost decent. Well, since we're shipping out of here, let's just drop them all here. These are actually better than the ones I put in France. These are the full brigades instead of just the battalion. Okay, let's look at this. Do that. I'm going to just put here so I can get that. There we go. We'll get them to North Africa fairly soon. Now these guys here. There we go. Now they'll get better unit. No, not. One of my few armored commanders. See, one thing, I know it says battle expert, and that's sort of like, hey, he's a battle expert. But really what, and yes, I am partially taking from the picture of a tank, but also combined arms. Combined arms is something that is, well, today is much better understood. But back then it really wasn't. And you know, even in the German army, late in the war, the idea, some of the people, and I don't know, and they talked about some of this stuff, but the Battle of the Bulge, German offensive, the Ardennes offensive, I forget the German code name for it, but the Germans were still, the German command that were planning some of this stuff, were still very much thinking, oh, well, we're going to use the infantry divisions to attack and open a breach. And once you do that, then we're going to send the panzer divisions through. Okay? And they're going to plunge deep into the enemy. Now, I know, because just some of the reading I've done, some of the thoughts behind some of that is that, excuse me, is that the panzer units will be fresh. They won't have used up any of their fuel, any of their ammo, any of that kind of stuff. And so once they're unleashed, they will be, you know, fresh to go off after the enemy. Of course, these may be tired units in the sense of their long service and other things, but fresh as in, you know, reasonably rested for the, you know, a few days beforehand, reasonably well supplied. This, and I'm using this as an example of late war. These are the Germans in, you know, late December, early January. Well, probably for planning of it, December 1944. So these are the high command that have lived through all of World War II. And so they're thinking in this idea of an infantry division attack with a mobile or armored division once the breakthrough is made. That is classic pre-combined arms of the 18th century, or maybe, you know, or yeah, I would say 18th century. I was going to say maybe also Napoleonic Wars. Things changed in the Napoleonic Wars. Thought in a way uncombined arms. Now you can look at the 18th century at different armies at different times. They often had battalion guns, which were really lightweight artillery pieces that they would put like two artillery pieces to a battalion. And basically most generals who did much fighting thought it was bad. That was a very bad idea because it slowed up the units and it slowed it up in every aspect. And so by the time you got your artillery up in place to start doing its firing, you've wasted the ability to immediately attack the enemy. So it was, I forget, embarrassed with artillery, I don't know, some little jingle kind of thing. It's really sort of a bad thing, but it is a concept of a combined arms of artillery combining with infantry. But it is just so unmobile. Get into World War I. Of course, World War I, you have the artillery barrage, and let's talk like one of the texts here, walking artillery, and that the artillery is firing and walking forward. And part of the reason is that they're moving it stage by stage forward, but also part of the thing is sort of at what's thought to be walking speed, so that so it goes just about the same pace as the infantry, and the infantry won't have a difficult time keeping up, and can always, if they are starting to move a little too fast, getting too close to the landing artillery, they could always slow up a little bit. But the idea wasn't going to be running artillery, in that moving too fast and get too far ahead of the infantry, and so that the enemy could come out of their entrenchments and be shooting at the your troops in the when getting hit with artillery and before the infantry can be. And that is a combining of arms. It is combining of infantry and artillery. Now, so this is Germany, who develops the modern combined arms blitzkrieg. They didn't call it that, at least not at first, under Guderian, and it really is sort of Guderian. I'm not saying he dreamt it up all alone or no one else thought of it. He was involved in, shall we say, a working group. He was in sort of the mobile troop command, and he was leading it. And I don't know how much is his thoughts versus, I'm sure, because just from different things, he was talking to his subordinate commanders, his advisors, and I'm sure that bouncing ideas off of each other and trying to figure this stuff out. So it's not just him, but he was the leader of the movement of it. What I'm trying to say is he didn't go off into a closet somewhere and write up this brilliant theory and then walk out and say, reveal to the world, I have come up with the perfect, battle operations alone and unassisted. No, he had help, but it was very much him that was leading the development of the, modern combined arms theory, and it continues throughout the war to get refined. But the people in charge of the Ardennes offensive hadn't learned that lesson, because, as some of the people pointed out, one of the big problems with having the infantry attack and then, to create an opening and a breakthrough and then have the panzers move out is the infantry and all of its support wagons and support trucks are blocking the roads so that the panzers and their support trucks can't rapidly and efficiently move forward. So that was just part of it. Now, I would say if you are going at, if the Ardennes offensive wasn't, and I don't want to say like the Maginot Line, but it was known to be heavily dug in American or Allied or whatever you want to call it, positions that they had, not a West Wall or Maginot Line fortifications, but well entrenched, and there's a lot of them, then yes, I could see the usefulness of the idea of bringing up infantry to simply be, fodder for, the cannon fodder. Die, exhaust yourselves on it. But what was obvious to the Germans at the time, and the reason they were planning the offensive is that the Ardennes were, and the reason they were picking it is partially because, they wanted to swing around through, and they knew they could come through the terrain. But partially is they knew that this was not a well-defended area. It was a lightly defended area here. So they weren't going to have to be fighting against reinforced, heavily defended unit, heavily reinforced, or lots of enemy units, heavily dug in, and that type of thing, so that they didn't have to do that, and that's why they picked the spot. So, we can always develop a, well, what if this type of scenarios, and then yes, that works to have an infantry assault, and that is, shall we say, a battle, a campaign in and of itself for days, shall we say, that then once you win that, then you do the following on. Because get back to the earlier thing, is cavalry is often seen by the infantry officer and by the cavalry officer as a post-battle pursuit force. The enemy's defeated, they're retreating, so now we unleash the cavalry on the enemy to basically destroy their unit cohesion and capture and kill lots of the enemy. Pre-battle, it was used as, when infantry was the supreme fighting element, it was used for reconnaissance and that kind of thing, and then sort of kept around on the battlefield just to make sure that the enemy cavalry doesn't sort of swing around on your flank and, hit everybody from behind or something. That, as long as you're reasonably cautious with your cavalry and placements, even if they had more cavalry and better, you could, sort of blunt it and allow enough time to swing a battalion or two over to face the infantry and blast them with musketry. So they're still, Germany is still thinking in this term of separate oh, what's the term? Cavalry, separate, not forces, separate branches. That's it. Separate branches. That's the word I was looking for. Separate branches of the army working independently, in conjunction with each other. Yes, in that the battle's won, then we send the cavalry, or before the battle is, we're sending the cavalry out, which is the cavalry in Germany basically becomes, there is still official cavalry, but a lot of it, cavalry type units become reconnaissance units, so that maintains that yellow piping, the Waffenverband, the piping on the edges of the uniforms, as yellow for cavalry, and moving into armored cars or other reconnaissance type units through the war, and so they would still continue to use those as part of divisions. So that's what they're thinking. So if you have a general who who could be a quote-unquote battle expert, but is not a combined arms expert, and combined arms really is adding in armor, because that was new at the time, but it's also, though it varies from army to army, is integrating air power too, is how that works. But to be properly combined arms is you can't have this infantry regiment combined with an armored unit. You have to have a motorized infantry regiment, or it is by its very nature uncombined with armor, and that goes for all the rest of the elements as well, not just the infantry, but the anti-tank. If the anti-tank isn't motorized, it can be towed, but we can discuss Guderian's thoughts on towed versus self-propelled anti-tank guns. But including armor or artillery, whether it's self-propelled or truck, towed artillery, it needs to be motorized on two scales. One, shall we say, the scale of this is to travel from Province X to Province Y together, so that they all sort of show up, so it's not the armor showing up and then a few days later the infantry walks in. They got to get there together. That's part of it. But the other part is, on the battlefield, the infantry will spend a lot of time walking around. But when it's just an extra couple of miles and we want to get there now because our tanks are getting there now, you want to quickly load them in trucks, drive them just a couple of miles. This is a battle within the province. Drive them, drop off a battalion, a company, or whatever, and they, then, outside of rifle machine gun range, because you're just in trucks, and, then they still go into battle. These aren't mechanized, which is the sort of next element of combined arms added to it, but still your infantry, because mechanized infantry is still infantry. And you can sort of blur the lines, of course, but the idea is it's still infantry. So whether it's motorized, which is generally considered unarmored motorized infantry, and mechanized is generally armored infantry. Again, different nations. So you need to have, within the battle fighting amongst itself, the ability to keep up with the tanks. The tanks, properly to be combined arms, need to be more than, the French idea of, well, we just need tanks that move ahead. It's the speed of infantry walking kind of thing. Because infantry can dash and run briefly, but they're not going to run 6 miles and then fight a battle, and then run another 6 miles and fight a battle. They're just not going to do it. They're going to walk 6 miles, fight a battle, walk 6 miles, fight a battle. So basically your infantry support tanks, which is, again, that's tanks supporting the infantry. That's not combined arms properly. It's working together, yes, but it's still sort of an infantry battle, not a what we think of as a modern combined arms battle. So instead of fight the battle, walk 6 miles, you fight the battle, drive 6 miles, get out, walk the half a mile or whatever, so maybe drive 5 miles or whatever, fight another battle. And that's where you get the proper combined arms. That's why this battle expert title, to me, doesn't stand up anything like a panzer leader or tank commander or whatever, or combined arm expert, if you want to call it. But you're not getting combined arms, again, until you are We're going to move the tank. Tell you, got tanks in there. And we can certainly... I'm deciding not to move the rest of the infantry. We're just going to move the tanks. I think that infantry, along with some of the other stuff we're going to use down here. Oh, not you. No. All of the boat. You're going to be faster to get there, and you're going to be more protected. So get on board those, not those ships. Oh, damn. Okay, we have to walk through this. We do. Okay. Now, can't they load that? Or maybe it's a size limitation. There we go. That's it. That's what I wanted to do. And I know a lot of the viewers have very high, and reasonably so, but very high appreciation for the German army commands and all this. And I think most all of you will admit that they weren't supermen or whatever, and it took 10 Britishers to finally defeat, 10 Britishers to defeat one German, or whatever it might say, or something like that. And that's just, Germany finally got overwhelmed. Well, yeah, they weren't quite that good, and I know you wouldn't really, honestly, think that, but you might think that man for man they were, a better organized army than, say, the British or something else. But that, and without being Superman, but just like notice what I said, better organized army, sort of combined arms. That is just a few units, really. Compare for the greater overall size of the German army. Okay, well, we just got cartoon. Good. We give them money for fuel. No, thank you. Now that we are here and not having to cross the water, we're going to attack. Use the fascist militia to support. And so that's some of the problem. And it's not even, the Germans didn't have enough, whether fuel or industry to build enough trucks or whatever. Well, yeah, but they also didn't have oh, they can't all fit. Okay, what can they fit? Yeah. Transport. But even if they had all of that, German high command, and I would argue that some of the wrong people were in the high command, and that's even getting to people like von Rundstedt, which I do have a lot of respect for as a military leader. It just, to some degree, should be one of the old guard type elements that he was learning. He was getting to be a better, more modern commander, but he wasn't there yet, and would never really be, Thinking in terms of his great experience from the First World War and other periods, but still. So it's not just, the stupid commanders or the wrong guys are in command or some sort of thing like that. It's more than that. Okay, we're under attack down here. Okay. Fine. Okay, CB class. The boats were designed as coast defense units with electric diesel propulsion. There was a mini conning tower to aid in navigation. The armament consisted of 2 torpedoes mounted externally, which could be reloaded without removing the aircraft removing the craft from the water. Okay, manpower, no thanks. Well, we'll look at these, but I doubt they're... Well, I have... I'm not talking about these vessels because I really don't know about these guys. You know, how many crew members. These are obviously some mini-subs. But I just know the Black Ice mini-subs really are useless. I've never had them sink a single vessel. Transport, you know, or, you know, convoy thing or anything. And they should be very short-ranged. I'm not entirely... and I'm totally in agreement with that. But I have experimented with the German stuff and put it right out here, or, you know, right out here, and just nothing ever. And yeah, it's these guys. Okay. So, okay, well, just sort of, you know, I'm doing this partially just to see what's going on here. For myself and for you. That's my appreciation is they're not worth it. The only thing they might be worth, is practicals. Building up the practicals. See, I didn't want you guys to fight because I didn't want you to have a delay between attacks. But now move forward. Lose one. Okay, now here we are running into a little bit of a... They're attacking, they're being attacked. They're coming to reinforce that. These guys here are going to now attack down into Mombasa and core HQs. And now that's 42. That's just a little further than I really want to do. Still looking to do 41 attacks. I know we've got other ones here, like here. Let's look at armor. Gasoline engines. That's good. I'll turn that tide, I believe. Yes, good. Reinforcement from being cut off, that was the point. Okay, whole fuselage aerodynamics, 43, good. And let's again look here just to see if there's... I do see like the armored cars, but advanced armor designs, that'll be good. We'll make better than average art, better than normal Italian armor. Definitely. Oh damn! You're not big enough. Where's these guys? Stop. I know I can drive a REIT, but I want to get them there sooner rather than later. Get these mobile divisions in here. Come forward. Oh, good, knew that was coming. And so we're doing fairly well there. Those are 42 for the infantry, and let's start getting these guys. Range finding equipment and twin engine bomb bay advance. Let's dump that. You know we're in a bit of a deficit. How bad? Well, we'll let that. air attacks will help. But I don't like any of these counterattacks, so we're gonna stop. Should help. Yeah, see, that just turns that entirely around. Yep, it's going on the defensive. But we are on the offensive up here now. They're all sort of running around going, oh, we need to go in this direction, we need to go in that direction. Okay. Don't really cross rivers there, so let's come this way. Maximum speed and attack velocity. Over the mountains, yes, but I got at least one mountain division there. And we're just sort of starting that battle out. Move these guys up. I want to pressure them. Well, let's attack here with these guys. There's an MP unit of some sort in South Africa, so South Africa's gonna take this being probably the well in. Let's support, so we don't want to do it to the capital. Alright, there we go, that'll be good. There we go, that's sort of a successful, at least looking to me. Oh, yeah. Well, loser. And that's grayed out, good. And twin engine fighter prototype, and that should also be... No, it isn't, but we'll stop it. And let's come over here and... Yes. Move all of that. Somebody has a very low opinion of Italian fighter command here, and I don't know that, I just don't know whether it's... I agree it shouldn't be, we shouldn't be having like 3s and 4s for most of the Italian air, because it really wasn't that good from what I've read. But the idea that I can find lots of, you know, even tank destroyers and lots of strategic bomb leaders and lots of... Okay, here we go, but naval type attackers, and I agree with there should be a bunch of those, but the idea that we don't have fighter type, I just don't know. And maybe they should be zeros with the skill, I don't know. Now, in saying some of that, with this game and its evolution over time, sometimes things get stuck, and by that I sort of kind of mean they make the decision, oh, it should be this under these sort of conditions, and then they readjust things other times. Oh, wait a minute. Whoa. No, you're supposed to be going there. I hit the wrong button. These are supposed to come down here. Okay, well, good. Okay, twin engine transport. Plane prototype is advanced. Good. I think that will help mostly just in distance, yes. But could be critical at some point. Okay, expansion of the airborne forces. El Duce, we must expand our airborne forces to allow us to fulfill our vision. We must form new airborne and air landing divisions with which we can ravage our enemies. Note to player, this event will create a collection of historical division counters, each with unique insignia in Rome. These are not full divisions, rather they are for use with existing divisions for flavor. Okay. This is not something you're ready to do for the AI, and I like that event picture. That event picture was good. I probably should have admired that a little more, but so now we have in Rome Folgore and Nembo. Don't know of Nembo, just don't know. And these guys, hopefully, let's see here. Well, what attack? Oh, I have, well, do I want to use, because these are going to be, oh well, looks about the same. Let's, these look about the same for various forward attacks. Okay, well, guess that they're just a, that's the veteran. These guys here, okay. Now they're pure. Okay, they're purely for that. Well, let's do this. Because I was wanting to do this, but that to give Veteran HQ, it should, no, it should give these guys a little better operational capabilities. Let's move Folgore, lightning, I believe that's what it means, to here. And then we'll ship it off to Beirut to join the headquarters there. But with that, I don't know. Yeah, why not? Let's create another paratrooper division. Okay, yeah. That's what we'll do. Well, these guys also have the veteran. I don't know then. Yeah, let's start a new one then. We have more leadership now. Continue with artillery improvement here. And another transport plane. Okay, well, on this note, we're going to end this episode. I want to thank you all for watching. I want to thank you for liking the videos. I do appreciate that. And, of course, please post questions, comments, suggestions, ideas, corrections. Love hearing from you. See you next time for more Hearts of Iron.